Hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. And finally, it's been forever, but it's gonna be a second podcast. As you see, we have the new beautiful scene as well as the new guest, teammate, content creator, and fighting game competitor, Egg. Egg, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Jan?
I'm
Thanks
doing
for
good
having.
as well. Yeah, no worries, no worries. And this, I guess this video is mainly gonna be about just fighting game stuff since well you're not like newer into it, but you've definitely recently experienced a lot of new scenarios when it comes to fighting game related
Yeah.
stuff. And I guess the first one I wanted to ask you was, you recently, for those who may not know, you recently competed in a Tekken tournament, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. How did you feel for that being your first tournament?
I felt like outside of just like the minor knowledge gap, I felt like I did okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even because this week's, I felt like I did better this week than I did last week. I just need to capitalize on a little bit more. But outside of that, it was enjoyable. I don't really have any complaints from the tournament or anything like that. It's just I felt like it ran smooth.
All right. Was there anyone that you were, I guess, like hoping you didn't have to deal with, or anything along
I
those lines?
El Negro for sure.
Mm-hmm.
El Negro last week sent me to losers. And I just because I just never lapped against the character,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like, man, you know,
And entering those tournaments, was there anything that like, you know, that you thought would happen one way and it happened a different way, or is there like, did you predict that anything was gonna go down, or any experiences how it was gonna be in particular? Since it's like a Tekken tournament, it's a lot different from other stuff.
I did not expect to win one game at all. I expected myself to go 0-2, but the fact that I did not go 0-2 for both weeks, I just feel extremely proud of myself for doing that.
All right, that's not bad. And turning nerves. Did you have them?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I felt it more last week than I did this week.
Mhm.
Like I said, like this week, I just, I didn't really panic. It was just, oh, I just couldn't read the opponent a little bit. That's all.
Hmm. I ask in general just for
Yeah.
because a lot of people still, including me, even like so many tournaments I've competed, like even in different states and everything, I still get super like really hard turning nerves. I don't know if it's turning nerves or just like nervous excitement. You can never really tell between the two whenever it comes to scenarios like that.
That's understandable.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's more nerves than it is excitement.
Hmm.
It's just like because with it being like my first actual major, or I don't know if you'd even consider ICFC a major or what you would classify it as,
It's
but
one of the
like
more it's one of the more biggest tournaments that are available right now that
so
are
yeah,
online, so
yeah, for a big tournament setting, I think that's the only thing like making me feel whacked out.
because it was 190 plus people, right?
Last week was 210. This week was 230 something, if I'm not mistaken.
230. Okay, that's definitely a big tournament, like
Yeah.
especially for starting out. And recently you've been in the tournament, you played Bears, and I wanted to ask you about the sheer concept, because there's always, some characters have better neutral than others, some rely on 50/50s, everything along those lines. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about a concept I've really liked a lot that I feel like isn't really talked too much about fighting games. Is there's a lot of characters that are kind of like bears and 50/50 mix-ups and stuff that I
Mm.
think are insanely good tournament characters against specific people. And I feel like a scenario no one ever really talks about is the concept of being able to make your opponent lose composure, and your character goes from like, maybe gimmicky tick throws or anything like that to just an unstoppable like momentum character. And I feel like characters go like tiers above what they normally are if you can break advantage and or break composure and take advantage of your opponent. What would you think about that?
I actually completely agree in that. Even though Tekken isn't like my first fighting game, in a lot of the other fighting games I've played, I realize a lot of characters that quote unquote don't perform well, don't do well, or when you start taking the community's opinion into the fact that these characters strictly just can't do well just because of minor factors, it boils down to the players' reactions. And that's essentially what happened with my bear run last week. I just felt like once I was able to get like a in where I could, I just like the momentum just kept building up. The moment, like it was just like hard to slow down. It was easy to just continue to steamroll, snowball, whatever term you want to use. It just felt insanely good just to try and just screw with my opponent's mind.
Mhm. And I feel like it even comes down to a scenario where there's gonna be, let's say, uh, let's say Alyssa, right? Super
Mhm.
strong, like slow neutral game
Yeah.
plan, right? I feel like it comes to a point where there's gonna be characters like those that are gonna be weaker than if you were to play a character like, Lei, Anna, Bears, anything along those lines.
Mhm.
If you're really good at overwhelming your opponent or being able to make the opponent lose composure because they have so many more what is considered stressful scenarios or stressful opportunities to break your opponent's defense or just in simple terms stress them out.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's something that isn't really taken advantage of because I feel like there's a lot of really solid people with solid, really strong neutral, just in fighting games in general. And if they maybe picked up one of these, maybe not as good characters or heavy mix up characters, that they could really just win by just straight up really strong, and pressure and putting the opponent in an uncomfortable scenario as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, again I do agree with that because it's just fun. Just trying to get under your opponent's skin. It's just like a play style that's just really really enjoyable.
And that's funny because bringing it up recently as well, I think that's why I genuinely like Bison. Bison's extremely
Ooh.
overwhelming.
Bison is a pressure machine.
He puts you in stressful scenarios until you either panic DP and he gets nasty damage, or he just even just small interrupts with how plus he is. And I get that also like Bison's a really good character, but it's still under the concept of the game plan is to stress the opponent out. Like that's what the
Mhm.
game plan is.
And
And oh, go on.
it's so rewarding. You're putting all this work into try and stress out your opponent, and then when it works, it just feels so freaking good.
Because there's a few other game plans, like because I feel like there is a big difference, of course, between stressing out your opponent with a rushdown character or making your opponent, impatient by playing super slow. I genuinely think those are two different game plans. They both lead to the same outcome, but the way you get there and the game plans that you throw out in the middle of matches are
Mhm.
insanely different, especially with just characters. And I feel like some characters can do both of those game plans, but
Yeah.
from a, a game plan standpoint of how you set up the same outcome, that those are two different scenarios.
Yeah.
So next thing, because you do have a lot more NRS experience than me, who would you
Mhm.
say in MKX
Oh
were
goodness.
characters I know it's kind of hard because a lot of them did overwhelm, but the ones that would really stand out, or at least to you in your opinion, whether considered good or bad, were really good at just maybe breaking composure.
As you can see, actually, because what you have on display, Crystalline Tremor is the first character that instantly pops to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Crystalline Tremor arguably has some of the best block string and block pressure in the game, with plus frames leaving you at between +1, +5, and these are all guaranteed setups. You can meaty through. You can't spend armor. You have to eat them because Tremor can just blow every defensive option out. You just have to wait for Tremor to rely on a 50-50 to punish it. You have to eat it. You have to play patient. You have to play slow against a good Tremor. And Crystalline, and like I said, Crystalline's the first thing that comes to mind.
Because he does get the buff also where he gets a hit of armor too, right?
Oh, having tools like having the armor, even as a wake up option, having the crystal block with all the options you get from the block, you get the jump, the attack, the throw. Just you get a little bit of offensive and defensive options with the brick. Yeah, his back forward too is just obnoxious. He throws an orb. Orb is +5. There's guaranteed block strings that go into it, and it's just nasty pressure.
Mm-hmm. And another question I have, out of all of the fighting games that you've played and experienced and all that, who just gives you the most trouble? Like when playing maining a specific fighting game, what character just comes to mind that was like, oh my goodness?
Ooh,
That's tough because you played a lot of games with a lot of
that's
strong characters.
yeah. MK 9, 10, 11, Justices 1 and 2, Tekken. Yikes. Uh, I think for another character that comes to mind would have to be Injustice 1's Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I did start playing Injustice towards Justice 1 towards like the end of its lifetime, just a lot of the people just trying to figure out how to stop Batgirl was not the right way to handle Batgirl. And it just felt like whenever I thought I had advantage, it was just Batgirl just takes it and strips it away. Um, it's just she has so many tools and options, and it's not even gimmicks. It's just everything that's given in her kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so
Just a really strong, well, all-rounder, basically.
safe 50-50s, safe projectile, safe zoning, safe gap closure. Like I think the only thing that's genuinely punishable on her would have to be her teleport, which
Hmm.
outside of that, or if you miss input on Bola, are like the only two moves that come to mind that genuinely have a punish or things you can be punished for.
Okay. And another thing, because we talk about it a lot, and it's really funny. Going back to the whole characters thing,
Mhm.
how do you feel? Everyone has, their role models in the fighting game community and everything.
Oh boy.
How do you feel about how serious the scenario is when it comes to top players almost to a point of controlling what the community plays and what they don't based on what characters they say are good and which ones aren't?
So can you repeat the question? I just want to make sure I
Yeah,
have
no.
what you want to ask right.
How do you feel about top players basically telling the community, what characters are good and which ones aren't, and those ones that aren't good not getting any love? Because we talked about this a lot, for example, like Bo
Yes.
Raicho and all that.
Oh, you had to bring it up. So I'm not naming names,
Yeah.
but during the lifespan of Mortal Kombat X, some top players decided to completely disrespect a lot of things about characters that either A, they didn't understand, or B, they themselves couldn't perform well with. And they just thought, ergo, if they couldn't do well, no one could do well. There are a lot of situations where that is untrue. I cannot remember which evolution tournament it was, but if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's the 2016. It's funny that you brought up Barai Cho because Barai Cho made it to top 8 in alleged bottom tier or a low mid tier character,
Yeah.
getting all the way up to top 8. Another reason in just having just the top players or just like the like even like the top 0.1% of the players dictating who's good, what's bad, and who isn't viable is completely biased and untrue.
Hmm.
Even taking Mortal Kombat X for example again, a lot of characters in MKX have so much potential that even to this day, some people are still finding like new things, new combo routes. There's even like tech given a lot of characters because they weren't played a lot. Only character loyalists know this tech, and no one else knows about this tech. And when these players are questioned about, oh, why would you place Unbreakable Sub Zero all the way at the bottom of the tier list? Why? Oh, he just doesn't have tools to struggle. It doesn't make sense. And I'm just gonna go just really quick. Frame one meter burn combo starter. Mid pressure screws up all the pressure. The only time it doesn't work is against Crystalline Tremor.
Yeah.
But guaranteed combo starter, it's amazing. One of the other abilities that he gets is depending on the version, he either takes no chip damage or he takes 25% of the chip damage. So Unbreakable Sub Zero is able to live a little bit longer, and it's not hard to confirm or activate said trait. Um, it recovers really quick, and not only that, it actually also increases your damage, and it changes how one of his moves works. His slide, meter burn slide, is normally combo ender. You wouldn't really be able to get anything else out of it, but with that trait activated, you get a full combo starter as for whatever scenario. I mean, what scenario would you use Sub Zero slide? Punishment, whiff punishment, combo starter, combo ender. So you get a little bit more damage, you get a little bit more pressure, and you get a little bit more flavor.
Yeah.
And Unbreakable Sub Zero being one of those characters that no one really experimented with.
Hmm. And with all this, I bring all this up because I feel like it's to a point where, yeah, everyone, of course, like everyone has role models and stuff in the
Mhm.
FGC, or everyone wants to be like, man, I wish I played this character as good as this guy. But I feel like, which is something like need to work on as well. What I want to start doing is I feel like everyone should just, to an extent, listen to like higher level players, but maybe with a grain of salt. Like I feel like everyone should be what makes them in the FGC.
And obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but I tend to believe those things because bringing up Borecho, a lot of people consider at this when Borecho was released, wasn't really questioned because he was released at a kind of a weird time. He was kind of being overlooked because Alien was dominating really really well. Triborg was still having a little bit of life,
Yep.
and people were still Sector and Smoke were oh so good. Like Borucho didn't really get talked a lot. I think it was Forever King.
Hmm.
I want to say it was Forever King took him to a tournament. He did okay with Drunken Master. People labbed only Drunken Master, and then just said Drunken Master was terrible because of a mechanic, and then just all talks of Borucho just fell off. I made Borucho through MKX. I from the moment he came out till even now because I still occasionally play MKX from time to time,
Hmm.
and it's just there was so much potential with that character. There was so many tools, opportunities. Even with all three of his variations, all three variations played differently, and it was nice to have a little bit of variation between the three variations. And Drunken Master had its own playstyle, Bartitsu had its own, and Dragon Flames had its own too. And it's
As
just
well as just in general an interesting concept to the game that you didn't really see with Drunken Master in particular, with keeping management of the drinks you take in and all that.
mhm. For yeah, because it's actually good that you bring it up, because what was considered why he was bottom tier or just strictly that variation, if you had to be able to count to 10 in your head, because every time you took a drink you had 10 seconds in order to take a drink again, or you'll just vomit.
Mhm.
And being able to, if that's just one thing you got to keep in the back of your head, is just, okay, when was the last time I took a drink? Oh, there's the timer up top, I can keep track. Second number, oh, I took a drink when timer's at 78, I have to drink before 68. It
Yeah.
wasn't like Boricho had to sacrifice damage in order to take a drink. um a lot of his enders, or even his B&Bs, allowed him to take drinks in mid combo, or you'd get, even with his grab pressure, you're sacrificing, I think it's 5% just to take a drink out of grab.
Mhm.
But it does lead to better Oki situations.
Yeah, and especially with creative stuff on top of, like you said, keeping track of the timer above. And maybe we still don't know. Maybe there's some people that had, string pressure that would help them count because they'd be like, oh, this string normally is around 5 seconds long. Or,
Mhm.
hey, maybe I'll be plus for this long. And then by the time it's done, I could maybe get a grab, which is like another 3 seconds or four. And then I could reset with drink or something along those lines, which is super
Right.
creative that I wasn't too much into the MKX community, but even
Mhm.
what I was a part of, that I've never seen anyone like actually bring up.
And that's another thing. That wasn't the only way to avoid the vomit. If you were being comboed, it wasn't like you're gonna vomit mid combo to allow your opponent to even get a bigger combo than whatever they were going to do. Because MKX is known for their big combos, flashy combos, explosiveness, rush down, and like you had to take every opportunity as you could. If you're given an opportunity, you have to run your mile with it.
Mhm.
In Boraicho's case, you can jump to, if you're like, oh no, it's a second away. If I jump and do a jumping attack and evade, you avoided the penalty.
Oh, okay.
If I'm being comboed, I avoid the penalty. So that means if I have to take a grab instead of breaking the grab, okay, I take 12% now, or do I take a full combo?
Yeah, I was about to say compared to empty jumping starters,
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And that's what it just boiled down to.
Hmm.
And it was just part of the reason why I liked the character, because it was just another layer of things that is just, oh, that's one thing I have to keep in mind. Okay, cool. It's not like playing Demolition Sonya. Demolition Sonya being a negative edge character, I have to, oh, I threw one electric bomb, I have 2 seconds to go before the next one goes off, or I have to prep this bomb or this bomb, or do I have to reload here? How many
Yeah.
um grenades do I have on my holster right now? Do I need to, like, there's so many layers to Demolition Sonya where Drunken Master Borai Cho didn't have all those layers, and it was just a little less to worry about.
Hmm. But yeah, and back to what we were saying as well. I feel like because with the whole tier list thing, it's
Mhm.
super easy. Even I do it. It's super easy to just be like, don't play that character. That character is bad. But it's so funny because there's so many times where I've said that about characters, and then I've seen like high level gameplay, and I'm like, oh, that's scary.
And it's nice that you bring that up, because even games like Tekken, for example, a lot of people would consider Lars, Lucky Chloe, Bears, as towards the bottom. They're not as good.
Hmm.
But yet they can get far on their own. Kaiser, not that long ago, a couple months ago at a major, took Chloe all the way up the top eight. I can't remember the name, but it was a Japanese bear player. He won Evo
Ring Chu?
with, thank you,
Yeah,
Rangchu.
no worries.
Um, Winning Evo with an alleged bottom three character
Right against Devil Jin.
against an arguable top three character. So you are, it's like everyone like tier lists are a nice idea. It's
Well, it
someone
shouldn't
else's
be something
opinion,
people should live and die by.
right? And not saying you can't take other people's opinions into consideration. It's you have to be able to not just completely trust everything someone says.
Yeah. And it's always the
And
same
yeah,
rule too, like at the end of the day it kind of matters like how you feel about the character. If you're
hmm
playing a not so good character, but you think the character is cheap and you're popping off, by all means, if it's working, good for you. And I think that's something that needs to be practiced more within the
oh yeah,
community as well. Because it's super easy to like, especially if it's someone you look up to. If you're just
yeah.
like, wow, I like, Kuma, and then the person you look up to is like, don't play Kuma. Kuma's bad. You'll be like,
Then why
he's
are you
good.
playing
He's right. Like, it's one of those scenarios. So I think that's
them? Right.
another really big thing that, including me, like I said, including me, just something that
Yeah,
needs to be worked on in general.
yeah.
But
It
with,
is
oh,
just. Oh, go ahead. No,
no,
you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say with that, it's so weird because there's just fighting games are so complex, like no matter which one you play. So there's always gonna be a weird, wild answer to like everything. It's just people just haven't figured it out for some stuff yet.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's ever. I mean, please correct me. I don't think there's a fighting game that's been completely 100% explored
Mm, yeah, I can't think of one.
because there's so many. Even a lot of a lot of older games. Oh, I can't. I'm blanking on the game. Oh goodness.
Third Strike?
No. Yeah. Okay. Let's say yeah. You could take Third Strike. People are still finding new things for Third Strike. The game. Oh my
I'm
goodness.
still seeing stuff like new, crazy, weird conversions with characters that aren't really played as much for like Marvel and tournaments.
Oh.
Like
Um.
MVC3, people are still finding like weird, crazy stuff where they're like, I didn't even know that. Even the TOs are like, I didn't even know that existed. Or commentators, they're just
hmm,
like, that's a thing, that's crazy. And it's one of those things where it's so hard to be like of course you could be like, yeah, I know how to play, this game or this game, but
Right.
like to be able to be like, yeah, I know this game, it's like, ooh, uh, that is extremely. You have to be
That's
like, yeah,
prove it. It's
yeah,
not like someone's like, okay, yeah, it'd be different. Like, oh yeah, that's my car. I built this car, or I work on this car all the time. I know how my car works. Okay, cool.
yeah. Because I feel like a lot of
Oh,
people misconstrued. Yeah, I know this game with. Yeah, I know everything about my character.
right. Yeah, you know how your character responds in the game you play. Doesn't mean you know all the mechanics for each separate character or what each character can do in response to yours. It's like, and I think that's the beauty of fighting games is just it's a multi-layered festival of whatever you can find.
Mhm.
It's whatever knowledge you find against whatever the knowledge your opponent finds. And the fact that you can just keep finding more and more knowledge day in, day out makes the game interesting. Even to continue this topic, Brian F, for example, Oro, big Street Fighter Five
Yeah.
competitor player. Um, the few people, including him, that play Oro are always finding new things to optimize certain routes, optimize pressure, optimize everything. And he's even his take on everything is the reason he's focusing on Oro right now over Balrog is just because Oro just is more rewarding for all the new things that they keep finding. And just overall, he's just enjoying the game so much more because Oro's out and there's so many layers to that character.
Hmm. But yeah, with that being said, I feel like that's just stuff we gotta practice more in
Oh yeah.
general, and including me. But I really appreciate you
Mhm.
hopping on and
Yeah, no
giving
problem.
your peace of mind with all of this. Everyone that watched, I hope y'all appreciate it as well. And I will be posting Egg's socials on the bio of this. So if you want to go support him, check him out, definitely do so. As of now, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe. Take care. and see ya.